Alright, so today we've got something really exciting to look at. Mattel sent over a selection of their new DC figures for me to check out, and while I knew some of the samples were on the way, I genuinely found a few surprises in that box. One of the sets that instantly grabbed my attention in this is the Batman vs Killer Croc 2-pack set from their Supervillain wave. As soon as I saw this set, I knew this is the one I wanted to spend a little more time talking about because there's so much going on here, both in terms of them being toys and also a visual design perspective for me as a filmmaker and an animator. The other toys from this wave are very, very cool. Very excited to see them, and I cannot wait to animate with them. We're going to cover the rest of them in separate videos. However, let's focus on with Batman and Killer Croc. Now, what makes this really interesting is that this is the first time we're having a proper look at how Mattel handles the DC license again. And whenever a major toy company takes on characters as iconic as Batman in the DC universe, there's always curiosity and high expectations in terms of what direction they're going to go and what they're going to do with it, quality, articulation, paint job, so much at stake. Straight away, the packaging tells you exactly who this line is aimed at. It's vibrant, colorful, energetic, and very kid-friendly. The artwork pops immediately, the logos are bold, and the entire presentation has a very fun comic book energy to it. It feels like a kind of toy you would instantly notice whilst walking down the toy aisle, and I can tell you a lot of adult collectors will also like this in their collection. So in this set, you've got Batman in this heavy tactical inspired look facing off against Killer Croc, who immediately stands out with the bright green skin tones and exaggerated monster-like appearance. Even before opening the package, the contrast between the two characters is already very apparent, and it tells a great story. As someone who comes from an animation background, I always look at things like silhouette, color contrast, and visual storytelling, and that's something I think Mattel has really done well here. Batman has the darker, controlled presence, while Killer Croc feels quite chaotic, aggressive. Even in the packaging, the personalities of the characters really comes across strong. So what we're going to do now is crack this open properly, take a look at the sculpt work, accessories, articulation, and just overall what kind of direction Mattel is taking DC so far. Before getting to the figures themselves, I can't help but be completely captivated by the artwork on this backdrop. As someone who loves telling stories with action figures, this kind of presentation instantly sparks my imagination. It takes me back to the 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vibes, the kind of gritty, atmospheric, textured environment you'd see in the classic cartoons. It fills me with nostalgia. Let's start with the accessories. The standout piece here is the large grapple claw launcher, which comes with 3 red projectiles and fits securely in Batman's hand. The weapon itself is beautifully sculpted, featuring an all-black paint finish with intricate details throughout that gives it a rugged, tactile feel. The plastic itself is solid. Attached to the launcher are sharp, claw-like hooks, which looks like something that could latch onto Killer Croc during close quarter combat. The next piece of accessory we find is the net wrapped around Killer Croc straight out of the box. With attachment points on all 4 corners that connect securely, it feels like a piece of Batman's arsenal to restrain and capture Croc. There's also plenty of room to innovate play here, as you can easily imagine the net being launched from the grapple claw launcher. The net itself is soft, stretchy, and it feels good in hand. The jagged saw looks like a perfect accessory for Killer Croc. With his rough and rugged design, it looks like something Croc built himself. Sharp edges and heavy appearance, it looks like a weapon built to take on Batman. The front end of the weapon being so large and bulky makes it feel like something only Killer Croc could carry and swing himself. Hidden behind the figures in the packaging was the biggest of the accessories, which seems like a hovering device that could be attached to the back of Batman. I'm not exactly sure what functionality it offers, but with what seems like 2 large fans, it could be something that helps propel Batman over Killer Croc in a fight situation, like a hovering device. The red blades also seem like they could perhaps blast some sort of powerful sonar waves that could push Killer Croc away in a means of buying himself some vital time. On to the main event with the figures. Standing in at 6.5 inches, we first have Batman, who looks and feels good in hand. For a figure that is aimed towards kids, there's a lot of attention to detail here. We got good proportions, a thoughtfully designed gear on closer inspection. The paint texture looks pleasantly even and draws attention to the varying textures of the attire. Let's break this figure down by starting with the look, and then we can dive into the articulation. Starting from the head sculpt, the red tinted goggles look quite distinctive. Nothing something that I was particularly excited about, however, it has grown on me. The straps of the goggles are sculpted on the side of their head, and we can also see a bat-like pointy feature above the brow as well on the goggles, which is quite cool. The ears are sharp and pointy, not too long, not too short, and in good proportion to the head. Batman has a calm but stoic expression, a handsome face with great definition around his cheeks and jawline, skin tones and paint looks natural. Beneath we have a shiny black cowl which rests nicely on the shoulders and secures the cape. The cowl is neatly tucked under the heavy tactical vest around the shoulders with a soft goods cape. The Bat logo is nice and bold across the chest. The dominating feature, which is the detailed tactical vest, seems to be connected to Batman's utility belt. We can see it's quite well sculpted with pockets, straps that clip together, and features where Batman can attach more to his gear. He has matching forearm guards which look strengthened, and a matching strap across his right thigh which reinforces Batman's preparation. All of these can be removed off the figure as they are all attached with simple straps. There is also a hole in the back of Batman which plays into the modular nature of these figures. Batman has a muscular torso, well sculpted upper body which is textured along the sides. Reminds me of the Dark Knight gear which had that protective mesh layer beneath the metal plates, which can be seen particularly on the shoulders. The blade catches are nicely detailed in the forearms. The layered design carries onto the boots, which also looks like heavy duty. It gives a nice leather look, and there is a beautiful detail beneath the feet. As you had seen from the animation in the intro, the head swivels and tilts well. Batman is able to get limited range as he looks up, but demonstrates much better ability to look down for dramatic posing. The arms have the usual free range movement, though we don't get that bicep swivel, and we only get a single joint on the elbow, but still manages to get good movement out of it. The wrist has a swivel and a hinge, and it feels quite secure. The torso swivels at the waist, and we have double jointed pinless knees, which has excellent range. We get a thigh cut swivel to help the cause, but unfortunately we don't have any articulation in the ankles. The hip movement shows great range, which allows us to get good poses out of this figure. This is a really impressive action figure. Kids will be able to get a lot of play out of this, and I think adult collectors will also gravitate towards this. Let's take a look at the giant lizard villain now. And on the other side of the ring, standing at 7.5 inches to Batman's 6.5 inches, we have Killer Croc. No details are spared on making this figure look frightening. With a much broader frame, Croc has a very scaly texture all over his body, in particular over his shoulders, back and head, which is a bit more spiky. The figure is heavier in hand but equally weighted, which helps when trying to get them tricky poses. Croc looks very cartoon-like because of the colour of the green, which I actually don't mind. After all, this is for the kids' line. The only thing Croc has to protect his modesty is a white torn vest and blue jorts, both of which are quite basic, but I guess it's the physical prowess of this figure that is the real focal point. The white vest is a removable accessory which reveals an impressively muscular and chiseled body. At least his skin condition left him with some abs. With red glaring eyes and sharp teeth, Croc holds a menacing expression. I can't help but notice the detailed bright red mouth and tongue, which is actually easier to see in person. Croc holds a closed right hand grip which can hold his choice of weapon, and also be good enough to throw a punch in an attempt to knock out Batman's lights. With his pointy fingers, Croc's left hand expression is a lot more grasping, because of course he needs to hold Batman first in order for him to knock his lights out. Swiftly moving on to Croc's articulation, as you can see the head movement is a bit disappointing. We're not getting much in terms of rotation, nor tilt up or down. As you can see from the side angle, we're not getting much here. Hopefully with such figures in the premium line we'll get better articulation. We have limited movement on the arm as it doesn't even reach 90 degrees. You got your normal rotation, the forearm has rigid movement, and I think it's because of how bulky Croc's body parts are. Wrist has rotation but hardly any tilt. Articulation on the lower body is a bit more impressive as we can get better range of movement. Croc is able to pull out the full swing kicking range from his hip, giving us more than 90, and I'm really impressed. Probably give Batman the big boot to the face. That's a bit of my wrestling moves seeping into this unboxing. The double jointed knees does a great job as Croc is able to get his calves to his thighs. We're getting some slight ankle articulation with rotation, but no tilt, which is honestly fine because I like the way the calf and the foot looks. Mattel is off to a great start. This is a fun set and aimed towards the kids, so for us adult collectors we have to hold on slightly longer. However, like I said, I can see some adult collectors like myself diving in with the kids baseline till then. Collectors have to wait till the beginning of next year, but with the way Mattel has delivered the kids line, it only raises our excitement as to what we can imagine they're going to do with the premium line. The future looks bright, and seeing these releases are only going to get fans hyped as Mattel gains fans' confidence with the handling of the DC license. I am myself eager to see how they deliver on different iterations of Batman, such as animated series, the Keaton Batman, Batman Forever, the Nolan trilogy figures, the Pattinson Batman, so many to name. Are we going to get vehicles? Are we going to get playsets? I really wish to see so much from Mattel here, and the way they're going to be going, they're only going to get better. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is probably a good time to start collecting this line, as we are at the dawn of a new range of exciting action figures, and this set proves that. Check out my other videos in which I will be unboxing more Mattel DC goodies. Consider subscribing if you want to continue seeing more stuff like this in the future, in which I'll be doing a lot of cool unboxings and a lot of stop motion animation.